dating in France. I go into a first date with curiosity and with maybe a bit of skepticism. I'm 55, maybe my heart is hard, but actually I don't feel like my heart is hard. I feel like either I'm gonna like you and we're gonna have a connection or we're not. Now, I am one of these people who thinks that chemistry is really important. I know it's a debate. I've got a lot of friends who are like, girl, chemistry, it takes time. You need to add a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That's how you get chemistry. I'm okay with that. I'm open, but there has to be an initial spark. If there's not an initial spark that feels interesting or intriguing, I am not going to be able to get my mind to show up and be in my best self so that I can create a spark, create chemistry. I'm not going to be able to do that. So for me, there has to be, it doesn't have to be fireworks, but there has to be a real kind of respect and anticipation, some sensuality. I have to feel like fun. And even though the heart is super important, I also need it with my mind because I'm an Aquarius. I am cerebral, even though I do so much work on my heart. Oh my God. I've been working on my heart, like breathing, pranayama, affirmations, visualizations. My heart is gold. My heart is open. I do all the heart stuff, okay? And at the same time, my mind be like, yeah, but. So for me, having an open heart is essential. And I do pause and breathe and allow, and I pray on my dates. I'm like, don't let my heart start closing down. Don't let my mind start coming in and taking away from this really lovely man that I'm here with, right? So my approach is curious and open-hearted and open-minded. Now, when I tend to date Frenchmen, especially older Frenchmen, older than me, I'm 55, so 55 and older, they seem to kind of come at me like they like the way I look, they like the way I speak, they like that I'm American with an American accent, they're charmed. They are charmed because when I meet them, like if someone approaches me on the street or in a cafe or in a bar, I'm curious and I'm open-hearted and I'm open-minded. But that doesn't mean that just because I said yes to a date with you that I like you and that I want you. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Just because I would like to go out with you to learn more, it doesn't mean that I've seen all I need to see and that I'm in. So I went out last night with this lovely man. We've met a couple of times on the street and he's very, very charming. But when we got together, I knew he was old. People are so sweet. I love people. I love people. When I met him, I knew he was old. I thought that he was 73, 74, 75, okay? It's not that he had bad skin or he looked like an old man. He just felt like an old man, right? Like he felt like a man who was in his 70s. He didn't feel like a man who was in his 60s. He didn't feel like a man who was in his 50s. And he sure as hell didn't feel like a man who was in his 40s, okay? He felt like a man who was into his 70s. And he had very white hair. It like all white, beautiful, white like this light hair. If you're gonna let your hair go that white, that's a telltale sign that you are in your mature ages. So one of the things he said last night on the date was, Did you know that I was in my 70s? I don't feel like I'm in my 70s. Did you know that I was 70? Would you have looked at me and guessed that I was 70? And my response, because I don't believe in lying, is, yeah, I thought you were, I didn't say this. I said, but yes, I thought you were 70. And I said, I'm 55 and I understand ages. Your hair is very white and you carry yourself with a more mature way. That's how I knew you were you were 70. And he took that well enough, but look, don't ask if you don't want to know. That's that's my rule. And also, I don't think that there's anything wrong with being 70. Just own that you are 70. Don't try to get people to believe that you're not 70 if you are, I'm 55. I'm 55 and I'm not 45. I'm not. Don't look 45. I don't look 45. I don't look 30. Okay? How old do I look? I look 55. And you know what? I act like 55. I walk down the stairs. I walk down the stairs like I'm afraid to fall over. Like I'm afraid to fall over. Why? Because at 55, my joints aren't doing what they were doing back when I was 40. Back when I had a lot of estrogen pumping through my body, okay? So I own that, and I don't try to pretend like I'm 40, don't I look 40? No, you look 55. Although this skin right now, this skin is on, okay? But I also, the products, okay? I've got the products that are making my skin look good. Does my skin look like a 40-year-old skin? No. But does it look good for 55-year-old skin? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So here's the thing. So we meet, okay, this is our very first date, and he picks me up, which was very nice. And here's the thing. He also said, you could come over to my place. And I'm like, that's a telltale sign. That's a no for me. But he loves his apartment. Turns out he loves his apartment. He's really proud of it. He would have loved for me to have seen it. But that wasn't going to work. Anyway, so he comes and he picks me up. I come downstairs and get in the car. Boom, we start talking. And I look at him and I realize that I've chosen to go out with a man who is 70 years old. That's not 10 years older than me, not in his 60s, but 70. It's a different game at 70. I totally respect old people, but it's a different game at 70. So we're talking and we're just in the car and he just kind of gently reaches over and touches my thigh. Now, in my humble opinion, I'm curious. I'm a 55-year-old woman. You're a 70-year-old man. We don't know anything at all about one another. You may not like me. I may not like you. Why don't we just get to know one another first? But he was not once was he ungentlemanly. It was a friendly tap to open the door to more affection. Now, for me, if I like a man, if I'm attracted, I'm going to naturally reach out and touch his arm. I'm going to, if we're in the car and it's the first date, I will turn my body and look at you while you are talking and driving. I will be looking at you and I'll even do one of these numbers to look at you while you're driving and talking if I'm there. I wasn't doing that and I wasn't having that kind of a feeling. So I just talked and I wasn't having a bad feeling. I just was not yet attracted. I was not yet turned on. He had a beautiful car, really clean. He had some music on, boom, boom, boom. We were talking. He speaks clearly. I understood him. My French I was able to use my French and communicate clearly. He asked me zero questions about myself. Nothing. Not once. Okay? So I was asking him things and he would tell me his stories, and then there was silence, right? And no kind of back and forth conversation. He was just telling me stories, telling me stories, telling me stories, telling me stories. And every time I would say something about myself, like I would say something, he never asked more. And so very often he didn't understand. He seemed like he didn't understand what I was saying. He was like, huh? What? Huh? And then I'm like, I've seen this before. You need a hearing aid and you are too proud to get one. I dated an Italian guy who was very handsome, and that guy actually, that came up for me as well when I was thinking about this guy. I'm like, he reminds me of this guy. And I'm like, okay, you need a hearing aid and you're too proud to have one. And the other guy, I couldn't deal with him asking me all the time, huh, what, huh, what, huh, what? And we were speaking English a lot of the times, and he couldn't understand the English. We'd speak Italian. He couldn't understand the Italian. He needed a hearing aid. So this is another thing. If you're going to be in denial about your age, but you're going to be like this all the time, what'd you say? You're acting like an old person. Dude, get one of these beautiful, discreet, high-tech hearing aids that are so small. Put that puppy in. Don't have pride, have hearing, okay? So there was that. So then we get to a place and he's like, I'm going to take you to a cafeteria. We're going to get dinner at a cafeteria. And I'm like, okay, first of all, a cafeteria is an old folks term. Why are we going to a cafeteria on a first date? Now, we were going to go see a play, and I get timing and everything is really important. So the cafeteria, he said, would be open. We could go there, blah, blah, blah. But there were so many other ways that he could have navigated that. All of this is to say, everything that we did, there was nothing that was happening that was going to make me want to be a romantic partner with him. I got my makeup brush in hand because I'm supposed to be putting on makeup. Apollo's waiting for me. And so my point is that, can I put my makeup on here? Yes, I can. So my point is that this lovely man would make a great friend, but he was disappointed that I wasn't warmer. And this is the problem. I've had this happen before. Throughout my dating career, I go in always with curiosity. If I don't feel it, then I'm not going to be particularly warm. I'm not going to be like warm with you if I don't feel it. I'm going to be with you how I feel. And what I felt was with him was curious and a little bit distant. Okay, I did not feel warmth. I did not feel romantic. I did not feel turned on at all. Not on any level did I feel turned on. I wasn't turned on. It's not that he looked bad. I just wasn't turned on by his looks. It's not that it's not that he was dumb or his conversation was uninteresting. I just wasn't turned on. Do you know that, like, in our first 10 minutes of talking, he was like, yeah, my ex-wife and I, she was the love of my life. And we were together for 20 years. And he went on to tell me about his lovely relationship with his ex-wife and how wonderful that was. But I'm like, why would you make that the beginning, like the part of your first date with somebody else? Why does the ex-wife have to come into it? And look, I totally love that you have loved. I too have loved many times. I'm someone who loves. I fall in love. I have great lovers, great relationships. And at the same time, I don't ever think about mentioning any of those men or any of those relationships while I'm with somebody else. It's just not the way it goes. I remember, and I wonder if this is a European thing, because I was on one of the dating apps, and this was a guy who was in Spain. Our very first conversation, it was not a date. We were just trying to see if we, vibe. One of his very first questions to me was, so how's your last relationships? How are your last relationships? And I'm like, I really don't want to talk about my last relationships right now. I have no desire to talk about my last relationships. I have no desire to look at those right now. And I don't want to know about yours. I'm not asking you about yours. I don't care who you dated last. You and I are a new story. That's my attitude. And so he got really mad, and he interpreted that as me having like multitudes of lovers. And he proceeded to call me a slut and a prostitute because I just didn't want to talk about those lovers. I didn't want to think about them. The thing is, I didn't even want to think about my old lovers. Why? I wasn't thinking about my old lovers before we came into this call. Why is that something that I should be thinking about when I'm going into a brand new thing? I don't. That's the beauty of being me. All that stuff that happened in the past is in the past, right? So I can walk into a relationship and be like, hi, I'm new. You? Not, hi, are you at all like my last lover? No, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. And that, my friend, is how dating has gone for me in France. So let me just wrap up this date from last night. So he brought me back to my apartment. And first of all, I already made it very clear that I am super tired. I made it very clear because it was the new moon. And one night out of the new moon, I am not going to sleep. I'm not going to sleep 2 nights out of the full moon, and I'm not going to sleep 1 night out of the new moon. And that just happened to be that night before. And we didn't have a plan to meet anyway. So, it was an impromptu thing, So I was very, very tired. And he knew that going in. And so I think that he wanted to kiss me goodnight. I did not want to be kissed. I did not want to be kissed. I did not want those lips. It's not that I couldn't have wanted those lips at another time, but there was no chemistry. I'm not putting my lips to yours if there's nothing. And I did a bees with him, which is, the 3 kisses. In the South, they do 3 kisses, okay? 1 on the left cheek, right cheek, left cheek. They could have stopped at 1, but it's 3. That's sweet. I like that. I like the beeses, and I'm happy to do the beeses, and I would have done the beeses with him. Boom, boom, boom. That would have been natural and easy, but I think he wanted more. And he had that look of, I want more. Y'all, I don't do well with that kind of stuff, I don't do well with the look or that feeling of disappointment. Like, if you're disappointed, I'm so sorry, but you're a grown-ass man. Like, I don't know. So look, that's how dating has gone for me. That's how it always goes. When I meet someone with chemistry, well, I've not been dating a lot, but I've had some similar patterns, and this is a part of the pattern. I'm getting back in the saddle. I love dating. I loved our date last night, even though I know I'm sitting here and it sounds like I'm bashing it, but I'm not actually bashing it. I actually appreciated it. I'm just kind of contemplating the differences. Like, it would be wonderful if he was cool and he would have said, hey, can we meet another time? And then we do something where we're actually sitting down at a decent restaurant and we're taking a walk and we're not like in a cafeteria with a bunch of kids roaming around and he's standing up waiting for his food over there and I'm standing up waiting for my food over there. Come on. All right. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. But that's my dating experience in France. There will be more to come around this for sure. And you know what? It's not just dating in France, it's midlife dating in France. Bye for now, friend. Bye.